Hi folks, I'm Richard Bolstad. I'm an NLP trainer and trainer of coaches, and my training business is pretty international. So every year I train in several different continents, and so I know that it's no secret that there are difficulties in the training business across the world right now. And so I'm speaking to you in 2024, just 4 years after this major pandemic. And of course, there are several economies that are struggling. They appear to be managing after the pandemic itself, but actually right now, what's happened is that trainers especially are noticing that they're having difficulty getting people to commit to their trainings. So what commitment means in this case is that people are really interested in the trainings, but they don't come. And the reason why they don't come is because when they review the cost of it, they realize, wow, I can't actually afford this anymore. I need the money for my food. I need the money for my accommodation, housing. And so so this is a kind of a crisis of economics. I'm in New Zealand. I'm based in New Zealand as well as in Cyprus. And I know that in New Zealand here, we're technically in a recession at present. Okay, now, this is not just an advertisement, what I'm doing here. My plan is to get you to think through, if you're in the training business, what do you do about that? And the first and most important thing that I want to say to you is that it feels really different when you feel different. And so, of course, the thing to know is that what's exciting, what makes training exciting, what makes it worthwhile is your vision of what you want to be contributing to the world. Of course, that's what training's all about. I remember one time I was, I work in hospitals as well. I'm trained in various ways as a teacher and a nurse and psychotherapist and so on. And I was talking to a doctor in hospital once, and he said, so what's the main job that you do? And I said, well, I'm a teacher. And he said, it's all about love, isn't it? And it kind of is, So what's really worth noticing is that when the economy is under stress, we tend to focus on, not just on the problem, by the way, but on how do we fix this particular problem. So it kind of focuses us down into the economics of our business, and that's not what's exciting about training. So thinking about, okay, how can I earn more money? How can I get more students in? That's not what inspires us. And it is really important to take a step back and realize that however many trainings you're running, however many students you have, that what excites you is being a trainer because of this incredible ability to share your experiences, share your learnings, and watch other people's lives transform as a result of what you do. So I know that. I've been a trainer for 55 years, and so I know how exciting it is to be a trainer once you come back to thinking about your destination. So I'm going to use this metaphor of a GPS system, and how sometimes when you're traveling somewhere, the GPS discovers that, okay, we're not heading in the way we expected, and something has changed about the routing around here, something's changed about the road system or something, and it recalculates, it reroutes. And that's what I'm recommending you do. And in order to do that, you need to get clear again, where am I headed? Which isn't earning X amount of money, which isn't getting X amount of students. It's actually thinking about what's precious to me in this extraordinary life of being a trainer. Okay, now, once you kind of expand your vision to think about that, then you feel more resourceful. And by the way, being more resourceful includes just practically, you got to get some sleep. So if you've been lying awake at night thinking, how do I get more students on my training? It turns out that thinking, no matter how much thinking you do while you're lying down in bed about how many people you've got on your training, it doesn't actually help. So what helps is getting enough sleep so that you can think more clearly about it during the daytime. So once you're in a different state though, then you're emotionally resilient enough to check, okay, what are the actual facts? And that is really important. So you're going to have to make decisions about rerouting. You're going to have to make decisions about what can I achieve in this particular context that I'm in. And that includes knowing exactly how much money am I spending. And by the way, the expenses of running a training business, again, I know from a lot of experience, there are a lot of hidden expenses, like running your internet site, like organizing printing, like organizing all of those backup services online that you happily signed up for when the times were good, and now you realize, wow, they just keep charging me just like they promised they would. So you need to check how much money is going out, how much money is coming in, and that means not only how much money would you love to have coming in, but how much actually realistically do you know is coming in, and how much are you just kind of hoping for. So that's the second thing about this, is check the numbers, check how long and how difficult it's going to be to get to where you want to get to. It's kind of like metaphorically on your GPS when you have a look and think, okay, so now I thought I was going to get there in 20 minutes and it's going to take me 35 minutes. And what differences does that make about the decisions that I would make about what I do? Okay, now the next thing is that the real world situation is different to the one that you had in your plan, of course. In the field I teach in NLP, we say the map is not the territory. And so here is a literal metaphorical application of that in the GPS system. So how the territory is different to the map that you might have had about where your training system was going is that right now people are much more focused on what is essential, like what can I let go of because it's just not essential. I've got to get food, I've got to get a place to sleep. What's essential? What is really good value for money? Whereas before they might have thought, oh heck, I could spend a half an hour online searching for the right thing, but this one will do. And now they're not going to do that. They're going to actually spend that half an hour in search. So they're looking for value for money. They're looking for something that they know is essential. And they're looking for what can I do myself without having to pay someone else to do it. Now, the cool thing is that as a trainer, you know how to provide some of those things for them. So you know how to actually show people that what they're going to get from your training is going to be more value for money. You know how to show them that it's essential that they do certain things in this particular economic situation, like what I'm talking to you about now. Think through what's going on. See, as a trainer, you can actually provide that as a service to them. You can actually design training that that relates to the real needs that they have right now, and they need to think about what's going on economically and what do they do, because they're in the rerouting process as well. So you can provide guidance for that, and frankly, that's what I'm doing right now as a trainer, is kind of talking to other trainers and providing, I hope, some useful ways of thinking through what you'll do next. Okay, so you can show people that what you're providing in terms of being resourceful, being confident, getting yourself into the right state of mind is not just a fun thing on the side that would add to your business, it's essential. It's actually essential in this climate, otherwise they are going to freak out, they are not going to get enough sleep, they are not going to be able to clearly make good decisions and look after themselves in the future. So you can explain that to them as you present your trainings, of course. So that's part of this. Now the next thing at number 4 here is take time every day to think about where you're going. Don't just rush in doing all those emergency jobs, because I know there's a lot more of those emergency jobs right now. And so how do you make sure you take time and take time in a useful way? Because see, as I said, just lying in bed worrying about it, that's kind of taking a lot of time, but it's not actually useful. So you understand that what I'm recommending is what you're doing right now. Think about this in an organized way. And what I'm doing right now, in a sense, is kind of coaching, it's even mentoring, because, you know, I do this myself, so I'm talking to you about the business that I'm in and you're wanting to be in. And so take the time to have some professional support, someone who can guide you through and think about this with you. Or if you are yourself in the coaching business, then organize peer coaching. I mean, do it yourself and organize with someone else who's in a similar situation to focus on these steps that I'm taking you through now, and make sure that you have enough time every day to remind yourself, what's the big picture, where am I going, what do I need to adjust? Okay, now when you reroute, you need to assess the reality of the situation, of course, on the ground. So I mentioned before that, like, my base is here in New Zealand, where I'm speaking from now, and for a couple of months every year I'm based in Cyprus, which is in the Mediterranean, and so from there I'm going to places where I'm teaching in the Middle East, in North Africa, and Europe. And of course, when I drive around in Cyprus, I need to pay attention to the local conditions, which I don't know as well as the conditions here in New Zealand. So I see on my GPS, and it says the shortest route to this place is over here, and I look at this little road and it looks okay. And then as I start to drive, I realize it's a windy mountain road, and it's actually going to take me a lot longer because I don't know the turns in the road, so I need to drive slower and more carefully. I need to keep checking the road signs to make sure that I'm actually in the right place. And I also don't know whether the road is going to be fully functional at the end of the story. So I need to adjust what I'm doing for the local conditions in a way that I don't need to usually in the situation in my home country, which in metaphorical terms is when the economy is good, I know how to do this stuff. Being in Cyprus and on a mountain road, that's where we are now metaphorically in the recession. So, okay, so assessing what you can do means also utilizing the real world that you're in. Let me give you a couple of examples from the pandemic, which we've just been through. So we're going to hear in a few years' time, how did people manage their way through this little recession now? But in the pandemic, for example, Lyft is one of these companies that around the world organizes people to get from A to B. And guess what? In most parts of the world, suddenly they had no business because people didn't want to get from A to B. They were trying to work out, how can I stay at home? How can I do my business online, like I'm doing, talking to you now? And so suddenly the demand for taxis, for Lyft, for all those other organizations that do this collapsed. And so Lyft then went into the business of home delivery of other things that people needed at home. So they pivoted, they would say, into a business that utilized the new conditions. Another example is Tito's vodka. Now, vodka sounds like something that if people drink it, they're going to drink it all the time. But it turns out that in a pandemic, that's not true. So people can't get out to a bar, they can't go out to parties, they can't go out to large venues where there are music concerts and things like that, where Tito's vodka would sell originally. And this is an American-based business, but they actually they have a unit here in New Zealand that produces this vodka. So what are they going to do? Suddenly vodka sales have dropped, and the answer is that they pivoted to producing something else that was suddenly in short supply, and that is hand sanitizer, which had to be, actually had to have even more alcohol in it than vodka, by the way. So you've got to keep those two things separate, right? Vodka and the hand sanitizer, but they are made in a similar way. And so that's what Tito's vodka did, is they shifted to something that utilized the new needs that no one had thought about. So have a look around and think, what new needs do people have because this is a recession, because the world has changed in this way and this way. And as a trainer, you know how to utilize that. You know how to treat that as being something that people can learn to be better at. See, they don't see that as a training issue. They see it as, well, this is a problem of the economy or something like that. But your skill as a trainer is converting those challenges into an event where people learn from it and improve and get more successful in their life. Okay, now another really important thing to understand is that the world is not going to stay the same forever. And if you thought it was, then the last decade has been a surprise for you, right? So So in the same way as we couldn't have predicted in 2019 what was going to happen in 2020, we couldn't predict in 2021, say, what was going to happen in 2023, which was for many countries this sudden dip in their economy. And so, of course, this will change as well. This will pass, and things internationally will resettle, and it won't always be the same challenges that you face. It will be different challenges that you face, but luckily the specific kind of economic challenges will resolve themselves in various ways. So hang in there. That's an important message. So, you know, I had the same kind of experience just a few years ago in 2008. There was a mostly worldwide recession, and it didn't hit our training business for 3 years effectively. So people had already planned and booked ahead their trainings. But then when they came to book new trainings in 2010, then they suddenly realized, you know what, I don't have the money to do this. And so the 2011 numbers were suddenly down. That's what's happened now after the pandemic. Okay, now those things, all those things that I've been recommending to you, they take time and they take focus. And what I mean by focus is getting yourself into a state where you keep paying attention to what you want to pay attention to and not just worrying about it, and not just kind of spiraling into trying to avoid the reality of it by fantasizing about other things, or not spiraling on the other side into thinking about the worst possible outcome that it could be and assuming that that's what's actually going to happen. Because in fact, once you're focused, you can do so much more with that time. And so here's the point. What I'm recommending is that you use someone else who doesn't actually have to know a lot more than this than you, but is willing to keep you focused on this. And that's by attending our online training 2024. That's in New Zealand time, so it's kind of around the other side. For if you're in Europe, then this is going to be an adventure, a late night adventure. And on this 1 day training, which is charged in New Zealand dollars, so a lot more pleasant than you'd think, and it's at transformations.org.nz/rerouting, which is easy to remember once you've got the first part, rerouting. And so, of course, what I'm inviting you to do is enroll on this training and take this day. It's not that I've got a whole lot of other things. I have got some other cool things to tell you about how to think of yourself not just as a trainer, but how to think of yourself in other ways, creating what marketing people would call kind of blue ocean, meaning creating a marketplace where you are the only person who provides that kind of thing. And I'll just give you a little hint about that. It's not on my list of things, but it is something that I want to show you on that day. So I run technically trainings, I guess, in Cyprus. And I run those with my wife, Yulia Kurasheva. And the interesting thing about those trainings is that they're not just trainings. So I'm an archaeologist, so I take people to local archaeological sites where I'm doing research on the ancient use of the same techniques that we are doing at the training. So this is kind of like a spiritual pilgrimage for people. It's a holiday, trust me. It's at a nice time of year. There are beaches, things like that. So it's a holiday. It's a spiritual kind of adventure. It's an archaeological tour. So it's a whole lot of things at once. And we show people some specific exercises. We certify them in some things, so they actually benefit for their career as well. Now, how would you classify that? And I hope you get a sense you can't classify that very well, and that means it's not easy for someone to even attempt to be in competition with it. It's just our thing. And so I want to show you how to think that way so that what you deliver in the world is your thing. So there's no one else who can do it in the way that you do it, because no one else is you. You got that sense? That's kind of interesting, right? So that's all happening on this day, 2024 New Zealand time, and I really encourage you to join us there. If you think, okay, well, maybe I can do this by myself, maybe you're right, and you know that this is important, and you know that you want to get the best out of your time. So of course you can run back through this video, you can make notes from here, you can go and read my article on this on our site, and you can do it yourself. And I really encourage you to do that. I want there to be really good trainers who survive through this experience and prosper and are really successful. Of course, that's part of the world that I live in. So I want you to achieve that. This very genuinely isn't just an advert. It is actually kind of thinking through the steps that I recommend that you spend some time every day doing. So good on you for using this time right now in a useful way. I look forward to seeing you if that's the decision that you make later on in the year. And otherwise, I'm really interested to hear from you as well. You can write to us at that site there and let us know what did you learn from this, what was useful, and what are you doing with it. Thanks, folks. Richard Bolstad.